I mean, the league was built on the backs of talented black women like yourself. I mean, these white girls come along, right? Cameron Adler, Caitlin Clark, and they're instant superstars.
The one bit where all these white girls come along and they're instant superstars, it's only Caitlin Clark that was the instant superstar.
You gotta admit there's something special about her game though, right?
Yeah, she's white.
Their argument is that she's popular because she's white. Then why didn't Stewie turn the W on its head after winning 4 natties with UConn? Why didn't Sabrina turn the W on its head after being called like a media darling?
Here's what Caitlin Clark could do. Y'all come at me like this, I'm not doing any interviews with you. Y'all keep coming at it with these dumbasses, Monica McNutt. I'm done with you. I'm not doing interviews with you. We'll go play in the Unrivaled League, and let's see which league gets going. And then let's see where the hell we're at. Your dumbasses at ESPN want to get up there and be racist as hell towards me. I don't participate in racism. Next time I hear that bull, we ain't playing in a game that you're televised.
She was just assaulted. Not with fists, but with words, twisted narratives, and a script meant to smear her name on national television.
Here we go again. Why is Caitlin Clark popular?
People aren't spending 3 hours of their time to watch Caitlin Clark play basketball because they're racially motivated.
You won't believe what just happened. Law and Order, a show that millions watch for justice, just dropped a racial slur aimed at Caitlin Clark in one of the most disgusting moments we've seen on TV. She was called a white bit.
Yeah, so she was good with that elbow you threw at her face?
I didn't say she was good with it, but she joked that it was good for the game, that it would get us lots of media coverage.
She may have a whole bunch of turnovers, but she does things in a way that you haven't seen. She does things that are exciting to watch.
In a scripted scene meant to humiliate her. And now, just 2 minutes ago, the hosts have apologized live on air as backlash continues to erupt across the country.
There's the two sides who think she is only popular and does have the notoriety and recognition that she does because she is white. There is the other side that says, you guys are crazy, you're all jealous of her, and she is just talented.
But was the apology real or just a desperate cover-up?
You stand up to bullies. You don't acquiesce. Because when you acquiesce or apologize, it will never stop. You stand up to bullies. You tell them go F themselves.
This wasn't just a fictional line. It was a targeted shot at a real person, a real athlete, who's done nothing but elevate the WNBA and bring millions of eyes to the game.
If it was because she was white, Sabrina Ionescu would have changed and brought the WNBA and turned it on its head, but she is not turning the W upside down on its head like Caitlin Clark is.
The question now is, why are they trying so hard to tear her down?
Jealousy and envy and delusion all mixed together. You have no idea what you're talking about. You're delusional. People are watching these games because of Caitlin Clark.
If you're a true Caitlin Clark fan, if you see through the hate and stand for greatness, type CC 100% in the comments right now, because what just happened wasn't entertainment.
Clark's popularity and the reality of the fans that are celebrating her is so different than what you see on social media. You never hear, "Go white girl!"
It was an ambush. And now it's time to set the record straight. On April 10th, during an episode titled Bubble Wrap from Law & Order Special Victims Unit, something shocking happened.
So there is an episode of Law & Order that was just aired on April 10th, and it's called Bubble Wrap. It is season 24, episode 18. I think that a lot of people, myself included, are very tired of this narrative when there's so much proof of the reason Caitlin Clark being popular, and it is because what she does on the court.
In the middle of what was supposed to be a storyline about justice, the writers went completely off script. Not legally, but morally.
When's the last time you heard about Law & Order? That Law & Order scene cannot be written without Caitlin Clark. That mention cannot happen without Caitlin Clark, because you couldn't say it for Elena Delle Donne or Brianna Stewart or Sabrina Ionescu or Sue Bird or Paige Beckers.
Out of nowhere, Caitlin Clark's name was dragged into a heated, racially charged exchange. But it wasn't just a name drop.
Caitlin Clark mentioned on Law & Order.
You've been talking trash about her for a while, right? Saying that she was a joke, that you were going to kick her ass.
Come on, man. It was just talk.
Look, I get it. I mean, the league was built on the backs of talented black women like yourself. I mean, these white girls come along, right? Cameron Adler, Caitlin Clark, and they're instant superstars. Everybody's saying they put the league on the map.
And they're getting all the endorsements and sponsorships. Yeah, it's messed up.
You got to admit there's something special about her game though, right?
Yeah, she's white. But I hear you. Cam could play. I had a lot of respect for her.
Really? Just didn't look that way.
It was a big game. We're both really competitive and we got into it. But that was it. We even talked after the game for a bit, cleared the air.
Yeah, so she was good with that elbow you threw at her face?
I wouldn't say she was good with it, but she joked that it was good for the game, that it would get us lots of media coverage.
It was a direct and personal hit. In one moment, a character says, "The league was built on the backs of talented black women like yourself." Then these white girls come along, Karen Adler, Caitlin Clark, and they're instant superstars.
There is just so much statistical data to prove why people are invested and interested and can't stop looking at Caitlin Clark. Like, she has broken a record for records. As a rookie, she has done things nobody else has done. Stats do not require race as a prerequisite. They just are what they are.
And just like that, Clark's achievements were dismissed, her success reduced to skin color. When another character tried to acknowledge her skill, saying there was something special about her game, the reply was ice cold.
It all comes back to Caitlin Clark's popularity. I believe it is based on basketball more than anything else. Look at what went viral from the Letterman clip, her playing basketball.
Yeah, she's white. This wasn't casual shade or lazy dialogue, it was intentional. A calculated insertion of bitterness disguised as entertainment. The writers didn't critique her play, her performance, or even her popularity in a nuanced way. Instead, they chose to plant a racial wedge.
And Caitlin Clark does have a further three-point range than even Steph Curry, and that is just kind of bonkers. Think about how popular Steph Curry is. Caitlin Clark shoots farther away on average than he does.
Right in the heart of primetime television. And what makes it worse? Caitlin Clark wasn't even involved. She didn't write the script, she didn't agree to be part of the storyline, but still, the show used her real name to anchor a fictional insult meant to validate a toxic narrative already brewing outside the screen.
Caitlin Clark made the comments to Time magazine. Monica McNutt recently said on BBC, perhaps a big reason for Caitlin Clark's popularity is she's white and from the Midwest.
The Monica McNutt stuff, and specifically with this level of media, we're talking about with ESPN, their issue with Caitlin Clark. Caitlin Clark represents Trump America, MAGA America. They see her and they say, this is someone that everybody who roots for probably voted for Donald Trump, and I hate Donald Trump, and I hate those red hats, and I hate everything that represents to me. Because to me, that represents racism.
This wasn't just an episode gone wrong, it was a character assassination wearing the mask of pop culture relevance.
Prevailing narrative that has been created around this season's WNBA play is that it's the league versus Caitlin Clark, and that is just absolutely false. It is unfair to the women that have been there building this league to this moment so that Caitlin Clark's popularity could take it to the next level.
There's a method to this madness. When given a chance to talk about Caitlin Clark, they're always going to racialize it and try to demonize Caitlin Clark's fan base.
A deliberate attempt to tear down what Caitlin has built. Not through facts or fair criticism, but through fiction laced with resentment. The moment that Law & Order scene aired, it wasn't just Caitlin Clark fans who were furious, it was anyone with a sense of fairness. Social media exploded. Commentators, athletes, and everyday viewers weren't just offended, they were stunned that a scripted show would take such a low blow at a player who's done nothing but change the game for the better.
She's popular because she's white, then why didn't Stewie turn the W on its head after winning 4 natties with UConn? Why didn't Sabrina turn the W on its head after being what some call like a media darling? It's because while they do play the game well, they are super efficient. They are amazing, amazing, amazing. Like, I mean, Stewie could be considered generational. She's definitely in the top of college basketball players of all time, but Stewie is not hailing assists cross court on a consistent basis, threading needles. She isn't throwing these logo bombs, consistent logo bombs, not just because Sabrina can she can hail a three-pointer from pretty far. She isn't consistently doing it like Caitlin Clark was doing against Michigan State, in college. These two players did not come from teams that were mid-teams. Like Caitlin Clark's Iowa team is a middle of the road, not generational, didn't have the most explosive talent like UConn did. And the Oregon Ducks are very well known as a good basketball organization in the NCAA.
This wasn't a harmless line in a fictional drama. It hit a nerve because it fed into a narrative that's been circling Caitlyn all season, that her rise isn't real, that she's only popular because she's white.
She's different. She's a white girl from the middle of corn country.
They like Caitlyn Clark because she's not a victim, because she doesn't seem to be angry. And so they find her relatable.
And while critics cling to that tired excuse, the numbers tell a completely different story. Caitlyn Clark hasn't just entered the WNBA, she's reshaped it.
Every single one of you WNBA players, you better pray that Caitlyn Clark doesn't get injured, because she's keeping your league afloat.
Juju Watkins goes down with a devastating injury that might keep her out next season. God forbid. If the same thing happens to Caitlyn Clark, the WNBA will not survive. You have one young woman carrying the entire league.
From the moment she arrived, ticket sales skyrocketed. Viewership hit record highs. Her jersey became a top seller, and arenas that once echoed with silence are now filled with fans screaming her name. That doesn't happen because of a skin tone. It happens because of impact.
There are women that were worthy of coverage prior to her arriving, and I just will not be silenced when it comes to that.
You don't have leverage all the time, and when you do have leverage like Caitlyn Clark has, you damn sure better use it.
Because of greatness. Because people see something extraordinary when she plays. And we're not talking about just white fans. Caitlyn Clark's influence reaches across race, age, and geography. She's got support from Black, Latino, Asian, and international fans. Her highlights are shared by people from every walk of life. Why? Because basketball is a universal language, and she speaks it fluently.
Monica has figured out a way to make the WNBA relevant and profitable long term. The lady from the BBC, she seems to be asking Monica McDougal how the WNBA can maintain their momentum from last season. There's an easy answer to that question. More than likely, they can't.
Two things. I think it has to show up in our storytelling, and it has to be encouraged by our families.
Yeah.
To me, right? And so covering the WNBA this past season, Caitlyn Clark's rookie year, for all of the conversation that surrounded her, some which was fair and some which wasn't, the one thing that I cannot deny is the amount of little girls that were showing up to follow her. Little girls with their parents and the fervor and the energy there.
Why her?
Same thing.
Why her?
Well, I was just about to say same thing for Angel Reese when I had a chance to cover their games. But I think Caitlyn represented, and again, some of this to me probably is not fair to her because it was not anything that she said or was truly based on her personality, but she was a white girl from the middle of America. And so she represented a whole lot to a lot of people, whether that is truly what she prescribed to or not. We can all say she is a dynamic basketball player and a force both on the court and the marketing sense. But I do think same thing with folks that may have fallen in love with Angel Reese that she may or may not have agreed with everything they had to say either. We attach our fandom to these icons for all types of reasons.
Where are these Angel Reese fans? When I see Chicago Bravado games on TV, the only things I see are missed layups and empty seats.
On the court, Caitlyn's not just a shooter, she's a playmaker. Her court vision rivals legends. Her range goes beyond the logo. She doesn't need to be tall to tower over the competition. Her game does that for her. She's the only rookie in league history consistently pulling double-doubles while being double-teamed.
She's not Angel Reese, who can barely make a layup. She's not Asia Wilson, who is 6'4" or 6'5" and completely unrelatable to most women.
That's not marketing. That's not luck. That's mastery. So when Law & Order chose to take a cheap swing at her success, the response was swift, and rightfully so, because this wasn't the first time she's been targeted. From elbows to the face to being shoved, hit, and mocked during games, Caitlyn has taken more than her share of punishment, both physically and verbally, and done it with composure.
Former Black players have decided, hey, we're going to hate on Caitlyn Clark constantly to elevate ourselves, but also trigger her fans so that they'll keep coming to games and rooting for her, and it's going to elevate the entire league.
Yet every time she gets up and keeps playing, critics find a new angle to discredit her. What's especially outrageous is that none of her actual accomplishments were mentioned in that TV episode. Not the records broken, not the millions of new fans brought into the sport, not the fact that she's done more for WNBA visibility than most marketing campaigns in league history.
number one revenue sport in America. What do you think it is? The NFL. How much you think they make? $17 billion. The NBA, a little over $11 billion. You guys are a $150 to $200 million company. You're operating at a loss every single year. You've never made money. It's called a zombie company. You're subsidized by the NBA.
Instead, they chose to zero in on her whiteness, as if that's the only thing worth noting. And here's the real kicker. If another player, especially a black star, had achieved what Caitlyn has in such a short time, she'd be hailed as a revolutionary. The headlines would scream her name. ESPN would run 24/7 highlight reels. Brands would fall over themselves for endorsement deals, and they'd be right to do so.
And this is further proof of that, because it wouldn't have made its way onto the show if she didn't play in the WNBA.
But with Caitlyn, the narrative shifts. Suddenly, it's not about her talent, it's about privilege. What's actually happening is simple. Caitlyn Clark is threatening the status quo. She's doing what the league has long hoped for, drawing crowds, breaking records, and making headlines. And instead of celebrating that, some are trying to tear her down to protect an old guard that fears change. This isn't just backlash, it's fear disguised as outrage. Caitlyn didn't ask for this spotlight, she earned it. And she's handled every insult, every cheap shot, and every false narrative with more grace than many of her critics deserve. So now we come to the part that's making headlines, the apology. Yes, the Law & Order host issued a public apology just moments ago, acknowledging the controversy, the backlash, and the outrage sparked by that scripted attack on Caitlyn Clark.
Caitlyn Clark is relatable and popular, and people want to see her play because she's exciting as heck to watch and because she's not filled with anger. People are attracted to joy.
But here's the real question. Was it genuine remorse or damage control because they got caught? Let's be crystal clear. This wasn't just a slip-up, a misunderstood line buried in a TV drama. It was a deliberate narrative choice, written, reviewed, and aired to millions. The episode wasn't about Caitlyn Clark. She wasn't a character in the plot. And yet, they chose to drop her real name in a racially charged context, comparing her rise to some fictional Karen Adler and implying, flat out, that her superstardom wasn't earned but handed to her because she's white. They didn't attack her stats. They didn't critique her defense or turnovers or team performance. No, they went straight for identity, straight for skin color. And now, after massive outrage from fans, athletes, and even people in the media who couldn't believe what they were seeing, the Law & Order team finally speaks out. But it's not brave to apologize after you've been dragged. It's not noble to backpedal after the world sees through your agenda. What's deeply insulting is that this so-called apology came not with accountability, but with excuses. The writers tried to pass it off as fictional commentary. They said the show reflects real-world issues and wasn't meant to cause harm. But let's call that what it is, cowardice wrapped in PR spin. Because here's the truth. When you choose to inject a real athlete's name into a racially divisive script and tie her success to her race rather than her resume, you don't get to pretend it was harmless.
It almost felt like marketers were trying to figure out, like, yeah, we have all of these amazing players and these amazing personalities, but can we push the demographic? And then when Caitlyn Clark got to the league, the Angel Reeses got to the league, and they might have been fouled hard. The same thing I saw happen with Shamika Holsclaw, though.
You see my tooth knocked out?
Yeah,
Rookie season, Jewel Lloyd. My tooth knocked out. I still didn't get it.
So how do you?
It's cool.
T-Clark, how do you feel about the fact that all of a sudden it was, oh, it's too physical. Oh, they're going at him because they're stars. What was your reaction to some of the new viewers and fans to the game thinking that the WNBA was too rough?
It was a crazy season because we have never had so much momentum behind our league, so much support, demand, viewership, all that, accessibility. But the craziness that came with the new fandom was rooted in something other than fandom, right? And I think that's very evident to see across the board. In a lot of ways, it has not been about basketball. Like, we can talk about, you know, people getting fouled. I just showed you my tooth getting knocked out. Like, that's been a part of the game. The game has always been physical. I can tell you the amount of times I've left with bloody lips and eyes. I have bruises all over my body, even from the game last night. You can see bruises on my elbow from last night. Like, it's just a part of the game. So there was no targeting, there was no nothing.
Right.
That narrative that got spun into, oh, the vets hate the rookies hate the vets are going after certain players. It's all bullshit. Like, if I'm just gonna be frank, it's all bullshit. What it is racism, right? It gets blown up into, oh, they're going after Caitlin Clark, but no, we're just playing one of the best players that's in this league the way that any other best player, franchise player is gonna get played. Mm-hmm. Watch how Stewie gets played. Watch how Asia gets played. Watch how Enrique gets played. Watch how Khalid gets played. Go down the list of franchise players for every team. They be getting fucked up every game. It don't matter what position you are, what color you are, what school you came out of. This is how we feed our families. Our job is to go and win, and if we don't win, what happens? We get fired. We lose our jobs. So
facts. Caitlin Clark is getting mauled, no calls. Ryan Clark is a clout chaser that stinks at sports commentary. His co-hosts aren't worth mentioning. Natasha Cloud, a.k.a. Natasha Clown, is running the race baiting media because she's average at best in the W, and now she's stuck in Connecticut because she stinks.
This moment revealed something much deeper. It exposed a festering resentment, not just in scripted TV, but in parts of the sports world, media, and yes, even within the league itself. Caitlin Clark has become a lightning rod, not because she's controversial, but because she's exceptional. And that threatens people who are too comfortable with how things have always been. What they hoped to do with that Law and Order scene was sly. Plant a seed. Make viewers question her credibility. Turn attention into resentment. Spin success into scandal.
What happened is Caitlin Clark in her sophomore year and really in her junior year just started excelling and doing things that nobody had ever seen a female basketball player do. Like, nobody had consistently been shooting these from the logo passes.
She shoots logo threes, passes the ball like Magic Johnson, scores a lot of points, leads the league in assists. She's a great, great player, and she plays and shoots and releases the ball like Steph Curry. So there's the attraction to the exciting style of play.
But it backfired. Why? Because the fans are smarter than that. They've watched her grind game after game under brutal pressure with the entire country dissecting her every move. And she's never flinched. So what does the apology really mean? It means they underestimated the fire her supporters have. It means they thought they could take a cheap shot without consequence. It means they wanted to knock her down a peg, but instead lit a fire under her entire fan base. Let's go even further. Why is Caitlin Clark the target? Why not Sue Bird? Why not Sabrina Ionescu? Why not Breanna Stewart? All white players, all talented, but none of them sparked this level of outrage or became targets of racial dialogue. You know why? Because none of them disrupted the game like Caitlin. None of them moved the needle like she has. None of them became a household name in their rookie season. Caitlin didn't come into the league with handouts, she came with history. She led a mid-tier Iowa program to back-to-back national title games. She broke college scoring records. She plays with Steph Curry range, Magic Johnson vision, and Kobe-level intensity. And she didn't do it with hype, she did it with results. When she shoots, arenas go silent. When she scores, crowds erupt. When she plays, people tune in, not because she checks a box, but because she breaks every one of them.
Right, and that's what a lot of these women are doing, is they feel like what we have done for this game, this young player has come into our game, and she's getting way more respect and all that stuff than we are. As she should. The young girl is a baller. The young girl has people watching because of the way she can shoot this basketball like Steph Curry. Steph Curry can't dunk. Steph Curry don't do none of that in the game. He can probably dunk by himself, but he don't really do none of that in the game. He is a shooter, and fans tune in to see Steph Curry. When I look at Caitlin Clark, fans are tuning in to watch her. And you know who that's helping? Everybody else. It's helping the Asia Wilsons. It's helping everybody else, the Plums, all that. It's helping all of them, the Tarasis.
And now Law & Order, a show once synonymous with integrity and truth, decided to step in with a cheap shot and had to crawl back with an apology only because the backlash burned too hot. That's not courage. That's cleanup. Let's be honest. They thought Caitlin Clark was an easy target. They thought if they twisted her name into a racial punchline, they could score clout and controversy without accountability. But what they didn't count on was you, the fans, the ones who show up game after game, the ones who know her game better than any scriptwriter ever could, the ones who see her as more than a headline, as the future. And Caitlin? She didn't respond with bitterness. She didn't clap back. She didn't crumble. She kept hooping, kept smiling, kept letting her game speak louder than the noise, because that's who she is. Not a victim, not a pawn, not a character in someone else's show. She's the main story. So what does this apology really mean? It means they failed. Their attempt to smear her only made her stronger. Their attack only proved how powerful her presence really is, because if she didn't matter, they wouldn't be trying so hard to tear her down.
Who's going to be the next face of the NBA? We don't get to decide that. The marketplace decides that. The people have chosen Caitlin Clark. They enjoy watching her play, her style, her energy, her shot. Whether it's because her game mirrors one of the greatest players in the NBA in Steph Curry or not, I don't know what it is. It's an intangible thing, right? Yes, we can say she's a dog. Okay, there's been other dogs. Okay, she's a great shooter. There's been other great shooters. She has it. She's got the thing. I remember when the WNBA started. I was thrilled. I was a fan. I couldn't believe it was an opportunity for me, a 5'2", 97-pound girl, to go play professional basketball. That wasn't going to happen for me, but the idea that it existed was special to me. And now she's offering that to not just little girls, but little boys as well. She's spread the fan base. So
now you've seen the truth laid bare. They tried to humiliate Caitlin Clark on national television. They scripted a racial slur into a fictional drama and tied it to a real woman whose only offense has been being too good at the game. And when the backlash came like a tidal wave, they didn't stand tall. They stumbled into an apology, hoping it would silence the firestorm. But here's the thing about Caitlin Clark. You can take your shots, throw your elbows, twist your narratives, and bury her name in backhanded scripts. But you can't erase what she's done. You can't rewrite the scoreboard. You can't fake those records. You can't ignore a movement built on talent, work ethic, and greatness that doesn't need anyone's permission to shine. Caitlin didn't ask to be a symbol. She didn't beg for the spotlight. She earned it with every logo 3, every no-look dime, every sold-out arena, and every little girl now believing she could be next.